the sanctions have been put in place and it's taken a fucking long time to kick in. And what what you are seeing is that the sanctions are slowly starting to work, but there's a bit of a tipping point where you push someone beyond the realm of kind of fixing it. And I've the only place I can draw a comparison against is Afghanistan. Yeah. So
Mhm.
Afghanistan's under severe restrictions because, or sanctions, sorry, I keep getting that word mixed up. Forgive me, right? But it's all heavily sanctioned, the entire country. So they can't have any money coming in, any money going out. But what you've got there, because it's being run by terrorists, is you've got like a messed up state where people were selling organs to fund
Mhm.
their way of life. So people are selling kidneys, like it's standard to sell a kidney in your village to earn money. Now a kidney used to go for about 3, 4 grand. Because so many
What?
people were doing it,
That's it.
it's dropped to a grand.
3, 4 grand. The kidney
Yeah.
should be worth like 100 grand or a
It
million
should be,
pounds.
but if you think of it in this way,
Supply and
because they're
demand.
so
Mm.
desperate, and there's again basic law of supply and demand. If everyone's doing it,
Well, everyone's got a
sorted.
kidney.
Yeah, so there's that happening. But then there's also, this is quite dark. There's people selling their children to other families that can't have kids because they can't afford to feed them,
Mm.
and
It's a
that's,
win. So it's a win-win.
well, it's not
Like
really a win-win. It's sort of, you lose your kid, man, but you have to sell your kid because you can't afford to feed them. You can just give your
probably
kid away,
yourself.
obviously, but they need to get something out
It's
of it
like
to live,
a
don't they?
yeah. So it's just like putting you into foster, yeah, adoption, foster. That's
Yeah.
yeah. That's nothing. Yeah.
So it does show that severely sanctioning a country doesn't always work. It can backfire quite heavily. And obviously, it's a terrorist run country, but lessons can be learned that the sanctions they put on Russia, you can sort of draw slight comparisons. It's not a perfect example, but it's the nearest thing
Hmm.
to a live example we have today. And in Russia, it's obviously not a third world country. They're,
Is there?
I
Yeah.
don't know,
Yeah.
up and coming, but it's still very well known across the world. It's very, there's
It's a super.
citizens
It's a
there.
superpower, man.
Okay, all right. I'll strip it back to basic points. There's white people there in it, right? Compared to say Middle Eastern people in another country. Because
Hmm.
there are white people there, it's more, what's the word, relatable for other people to sort of see that and think, oh shit, that's actually quite close to us, or we can understand it a bit more compared to say something that's really far removed in the Middle East, because that's not in the same continent as you. So you don't acknowledge that happening because it's closer to your doorstep. You're thinking, oh God, this is a lot of stress to sort of take on. And it's actually quite real. I think that's starting to shine through a lot more, which is fine. But I just need people to understand that there are other things like this happening across the world that have gone through and are further along.
Hmm.
And take a look at that, and you can probably see where this might go if things carry on the way they are.
So play that. So reparations go in, and Russia becomes crippled. Then what?
They'll carry on.
But how can you if you haven't got the resources to carry on? That's the point, isn't it?
When you say you haven't got the resources, what do you mean exactly? Because the resources are already there. You've already got the soldiers, you've already got the military, you've already got everything there and set up.
True, but the all these soldiers still need weapons, which requires everything is money, doesn't it? You can't sustain something without money. There's a cost
Mm.
for everything. So you're right. Yeah, there's the manpower. One is manpower, and you can't obviously create more manpower. You could buy more
Yeah.
manpower, mercenaries. Doubt they'll do that.
But he can
But
go
then,
into those federal reserves that you're saying, basically. They
yeah,
can
yeah,
keep going into
exactly.
that.
He's got it. Yeah, like he's got a pot, and it's whether look, Russia's not like any other country. Like if you thought this is the work of a madman, you thought this was. If you're in Russia now thinking that this man is like Hitler, right? And this is another country, then you think, vote in no confidence, get this person out, get him away from the nuclear
It's a
buttons.
dictatorship over there. There's no
But it's a
democracy.
dictatorship, isn't it? So
Yeah.
exactly. So one of our friends on the weekend that we met over dinner had a very interesting point, and he was like, "Think, just imagine if Putin is terminally ill,
Right.
right? Got nothing to lose. He's like, I'm going out. Might as well go out with a bang. Press the button as I go out.
Yeah, he could do. But you could say that about any president that has a bee in their bonnet.
Like,
Any of them. Any place that has a nuclear weapon across the world.
no, no, but here's the difference. So other countries that have nuclear weapons, let's take American example because it's in loads and loads of films. I think there's a film called Red Notice with Denzel Washington, Gene Hackman. It's never ever going to be one person pressing the button.
Mm.
Multiple people, multiple not deterrence. What's the word? Fail safes. Multiple keys, same time, synchronous, like loads
Right.
of checks, blah blah blah. It's not unilateral. Whereas, I don't know what they have in North Korea, but I imagine that's pretty unilateral as
Okay,
well.
but is it like that in Russia? Is it just one person, one button? That's it.
This is I don't know is the answer. But when I
If
look at
that's
someone
been
like Putin,
verified, and if that
when I look at
spreads,
someone like Putin, yeah, well,
if
this is
that
why the
spreads,
world's
and
taking it seriously,
that's going to
man.
cause fear, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, look, he's put this thing on high alert on Sunday. Everyone's
You
like,
must
"What's he
have
doing, man?"
seen the fucked up videos of people. Well, this is where TikTok can be a bit dangerous. It
Mm.
tells you if they drop a nuke somewhere, how far it goes and what it
The
does.
radius.
And it
Okay.
shows you the radius, and it shows you that people within X amount of distance just get vaporized.
Yeah,
There's
yeah. You
no
don't.
bodily remains. They're just
It's
gone.
just.
Dust.
I remember when I was in school.
It's like an 11-kilometer radius. And what happened to Hiroshima is tiny compared to what they can do today.
Yeah, that was 100. They talked about that was the only time, obviously, two atomic bombs dropped, weren't they, in
Yeah.
Japan?
I think it was
Uh,
two. I actually don't know.
I think it was two, and I think the death count was 150,000 people, and obviously a lot
Mm.
of people who still have the long-lasting effects of that radiation. I remember when I was in school, and our teacher was explaining trying to explain the gravity of what an atomic bomb is, and he said, "Look, if this went off in Birmingham, so we were sitting in Warsaw, he goes, you'd be gone, like done,
Yeah.
no problem." And you're right. I don't know how obviously technology has come on a long way. I don't know at the kind of atomic level, like does that make it more potent in terms of a bomb? Um, but yeah, that's scary, man. Like everyone, I think there's a scene in Terminator 3, The Rise of the Machines, or it's something called Skynet or something, and they show a
Yeah.
scene where everybody's firing nukes at each other. It just
Oh,
takes out
yeah.
the
Yeah.
world. That's a clip that I think will probably be circulating soon. But yeah, everybody's just firing and just taking each other out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scary, man.
That's the thing, man. Nukes can be a fucking dangerous and scary thing. Everyone sees them in computer games, but it's until you actually sit and think, oh God, that's possible. Yeah, I mean, anything's possible, Garen. Anyone
Anything's
can just
possible.
say, what if he just wants to drop a nuke? What if he can do this? What if he can do that? Yeah, but
Mm.
then if you run into that water battery, you start going nuts, man.
No,
Like
no,
you
that's
can't
that's
sleep,
dark, dark hole, man. Yeah,
all of
you
that.
get anxious. You get very, very anxious. And I think the thing that scares people is no one thought he'd invade Ukraine. He invaded Ukraine, right? Now they're having this kind of like peace talks, or whatever. But somebody obviously
There
has
are no
to
peace talks, bro.
negotiate,
It's all a lie. They've walked
right?
away.
Exactly. Well, yeah, except now that they're planning the meeting tomorrow again or whatever. But it's like more.
What's mad is like people are going to
What
listen
are
to
the
this in a
terms?
week and the whole lay of the land may have changed. So if it has, sorry guys, if it hasn't and this is still looking the same, cool. But knowing how fast things run, who knows? Because this time last week when we did our other podcast that's out now with Nav,
Mm.
that was the evening, the eve of everything happening.
Evolve. Yeah,
Yeah, the
that's
eve
true.
of, right? And now we're 6 days later and look at where we are. So the world moves very quickly. And we're just thinking, fuck, man, how
Very
can
good.
we keep up to date with it all? It's so
Specifically
busy.
when it comes to war. The broadcast I was listening to today, these aerial photos they've been talking about. So I think originally they said on the cameras, the drones, it looked like 3 miles worth of convoys, right?
Isn't it 40?
Yeah. And then they said, oh, no, sorry, it's actually 40, like just some
Yeah.
context there, 40 miles long of
Of
armored
military.
vehicles,
Yeah.
right? And they're like, okay, so what's the intention of that? Well, it kind of makes me remember the scene. You've seen Black Hawk Down?
Corin, you have so many film references, man. It's actually mad.
I
You're on a
know.
record right now, man. Go on.
No, no. Have you seen Black Hawk Down?
Probably, man. Many years ago.
Okay, so they're in, I think, the Mombasa in that film. But essentially, the Somalians are surrounding the American soldiers, and they're trying to obviously the Somalians at this point are trying to siege this area, and it's like kind of what's happening now with Kiev. So this battle historian was talking today, and he said, look, if we approximate that Kiev have 10,000 strong Ukrainian soldiers, right? He goes, if defended properly in kind of general warfare kind of tactics, you need at least 10 times that size of force to storm it. So he's basically saying Putin needs at least 100,000 soldiers to take something that's 10,000 strong.
Yeah.
Another person who is undisclosed location in Ukraine was basically saying, look, they don't know the lay of the land. We do, i.e. the Ukrainians. And there are certain, here's another movie reference coming for you as well. There are certain bottlenecks, like in 300, Okay,
Yeah.
remember the
Move
pass. He
past
goes,
it and you can just kill him.
yeah, as in, well, it doesn't. Where I think the line they say in 300 is where numbers count for nothing. So if
Yeah.
only this many can fit in there, it doesn't matter if you've got a million behind them. If only this many can get in there, and so
Yeah.
they're trying to set all these traps where they bring them in and they just take them out.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing that's going to unfold now. Is Kiev going to be taken?
Well,
Is there going
yeah,
to be
I
a
think I
siege?
think I think we'll know more in the next 2 days or so, won't we? So it's dark. It's dark.